Hello everybody. Today I will try to explain you what's the difference between callbacks, promises, and async-await. Let's get started. Firstly, I will create a file called test.js in my home directory, and we will write our JavaScript code in there, and we will run it in the command line with node command, and let's test if it's working. That, yeah, everything is fine. Let's get started. First of all, when you face with something like callbacks, promises, or async-await, you will be probably in a asynchronous manner work, like fetching some data from network or setting a timer in future. All of these tasks actually have a similar thing, and this is the asynchronity. Let's check what is asynchronous code. Normally, if you live a synchronous world, you expect that every line of code you write will execute one by one. For example, when we run this, we expect to see 1, 2, 3 in the ordered manner. But in the asynchronous world, it's not the case. Let's say in pseudocode, you need to print something in here and fetch some data and print something again. This fetch operation, because of network, can take, let's say, 5 seconds. This print function will immediately execute it like in 1 millisecond, let's say, and this one also executed in 1 millisecond. When we run this type of code, in the output, we will see something like our print again, like let's say 1, 2, 1, 2, and at some point we will see our fetch request will done. In order to use this type of asynchronous code, we need to use callbacks, promises, or async-await. These are actually syntactic sugar of the JavaScript. Let's give one example. For callbacks, we can give setTimeout as an example. setTimeout is a default function in JavaScript which executes the first function given as callback to the setTimeout function and execute that after the milliseconds entered as a second parameter. Let's say enter here console log 2, okay, and then write here console log 1, and here write 3. When we execute that code, you will see that 2 will be executed last as the last command. This is because the setTimeout function is not synchronous, and the last command we say like console log 3 will not wait the execution finish of the setTimeout. This is a case that not suitable for every situation. Let's say maybe you need to fetch some data in here after 2 seconds, and right after that you want to print that. For example, let's say there's a name function, there's a name variable in there, and you want to print the name in here like that. And let's say this is a network fetch function, let's imagine, and it will execute in 2 seconds, and it will fetch a name from network like, let's say, Murad. At this case, when we run it, as you can see, the name will be empty. But as you expect in our real life applications, it's not suitable for every case. In order to solve this issue, we can use promises or async-await keywords. Let's start with promises. Promise is a JavaScript object created in this manner, and it takes another function, takes 2 parameters, resolve and reject. When we return this promise object as a return type of a function, this function can be changed by then and catch keywords, or can be awaited by await async keywords in functions. Let's start with then and catch. For this example, let's say we will try to make same example here with promises. And first of all, let's create a function like fetch data and put our set timeout in there. As you see in the first example, in here console log will print empty. In order to solve this issue, we can use the promises in the fetch data function. Let's say fetch data function will return a new promise, and inside this promise we will write our asynchronous code like set timeout. Let's put it in there, and whenever the asynchronous function resolved, we need to call resolve function with a parameter or not. Let's say this is the case for now, and in here we can now use then and catch keywords. I will come to catch later, but both then and catch keywords take another callback function, and when you write your code inside this callback function, you will see that, I need to write it in the upper like that. When we run this code, sorry about it. I forgot to return keyword. When we run this code, as you can see, the name printing wait to resolve of the fetch data function. This is because fetch data function returns a new promise, and the then keyword combine our callbacks with the resolve function in here and call our callbacks after the resolve function called in here. Moreover, we can create the same situation without a global variable like name. Let's say in here we grab the name and it's Murad. When we pass this variable as a parameter to resolve function, this parameter will be visible in the callback of the then function. Let's say volley in here and call it like that. When we run it, we are expecting to see the same thing. There is an issue with this syntax. Let's say you have different functions like fetch name for this case, fetch surname for this case, and let's say fetch age for this case. And let's say for this one it returns ag, and for age it returns like, let's say 18. Let's remove the console logs for now and put Murat in there for simplicity. When we want to wait all the fetch surname, age and name with the then command, then syntax, we need to combine them in a manner like fetch the name, after that fetch the surname, after that fetch the age, and let's say name, surname and age. And in here we can print them and use them. Let's test it out. It will take 6 seconds because every one of them wait for 2 seconds. And as you can see, we can access three different results of 3 different asynchronous function in here with the then syntax. But as you can see, there is a problem in there. There's no, of course, there are some ways like promise all and others we can talk later. But for this one, we need to combine thens in not a suitable way. And also, there's another case, like let's say for the fetch surname, there's an error occurred in the network. Let's say you disconnect from Wi-Fi, and let's say you will resolve AG, but const disconnect mod.random, let's say, if it's bigger than 0.5, if it's bigger than 0.5, it's an error, and if it's not, it's fine. If there's an error happen, you can reject your promise in here, like error, and you can access this error in your fetch surname function with not then but the catch keyword. Let's say after then here add a catch keyword with same manner, and it takes a parameter which is error in this case, and let's say console log it error. When we run it in here, let's hope that there's an error. It's not. Let's say remove them to the 200 second, change it, try it again. Yeah, we see an error, there's no error. As you can see, you can manage your function and try to handle errors in this manner. But as you see in the then functions, if you want to handle all the errors you try to get, you need to add less of catch after your then keywords, like one for here, one for here, and it's not suitable. Let's write some code. Let's write same code with async-await functions. Async-await is another syntactic sugar to replace then and catch. In order to use them, you need a function defined as async, like let's say async function, or let's say again my function, and let's call it in here. Okay, and in here async function, in here we can call the fetch name, our asynchronous function, with await keyword. When we do this, let's say do this like that. When we do this and console log here too, we must expect that it will work in the synchronous manner, like there's no fetching or no other thing happens, like our regular code. Before the execution of fetch name finished, we will not start the execution of the next line because of the await keyword. With the help of that, we can get the same result we try to get before with this setup. Just do that, fetch surname, fetch age, and that's all. You can combine them in here like that. When we do this and run it, it works as expected. But here there's a problem. As you remember, our fetch surname function can trigger a warning, an error with the reject command. How can we handle that in there? In the traditional way, with try catches, like in the other languages. You write a try catch block, you write your error catcher function, here, and then you put the things inside the try block if there's no problem and run it again. Yeah, that's all, without the hassles we see in the promise version. Also, because of the await keyword, we can use different functions with promises in single line manner. We can achieve same thing with promises also. I want to show that lastly. Let's say you want to fetch all these with promises. You can create another function, fetch all, and it can promise dot all fetch name, fetch surname, fetch age. It can return that. In this way, I can try to get it in here like that. Let's equal to data and write data in there and just make it as comment. Let's run it. Sorry, I need to pass it as an array. Sorry, let's check it out. Promise all. Yeah, actually I'm expecting to work that. I say, I guess, sorry, not in there. Yeah, it must work in this way. Let's try it again. It runs just, I guess the problem in there, like, let's try to run it directly. Let's say copy this, put it here, remove this one, and say then data console log data. Let's say test it out. That's interesting because I'm expecting, sorry, I didn't call the functions. That's my bad. Let's run it. Yeah, that's the case. If you want to get rid of all the thens, you can use promise all. There are also different alternatives of promise all, like promise any, which resolve after only one of them resolved. Let's say any, and when you run it, it just returned the first one. If you say 2000, it must return 18 every time. Yeah, as you can see. Yeah, you can use all of them according to your code style and your need. Thank you for watching. Let's see you soon.